morning. Hello, everybody. I can talk. I have a voice. If anyone was unaware or doesn't follow me on socials, it went MIA for 7 bloody days. And for everyone who knows me, being a rather small extrovert, don't think I've ever used the word introvert to describe me. Extra, it's been painful. Anyway, welcome. Good to see so many of you here and so many familiar faces and new faces. Give us a wave if this is your first, oh my goodness, hello, welcome. What you'll notice is it's a very sociable crew. There's always chat in the chat box. Lots of interaction as well, so it's great that so many of you got your cameras on. The way we always start a pod is with a poem and then some silence, and the reason for that is just to allow everyone to arrive, to connect, and to be in this space. So the invitation right now for you is to settle yourself in wherever you are. If you want to close your eyes, close your eyes. If you want to look out a window, look out a window, whatever you need, but for the next probably 4 or 5 minutes. And the poem today is by Donna Ashworth, and it's called The Witch Wound. They call it the witch wound. We were punished. You see, broken, slain for shining too brightly. So we learn to hide in the dark. We learn to play it down, play dumb, play dead. And we were taught to fear the light within us, lest it heralded our downfall. But not anymore. You are not a witch. My friend, you are quite simply, or complicatedly, a woman. And your magic is not something you can choose or lose. It is and always has lived within you. And you need no longer hide it. They call it the witch wound, but the time to heal is here, now. Let that magic out. Just take the next 2 minutes, reflect, breathe, notice what you notice. As you start to come back into your body, take a really deep breath in through your nose and out through your mouth. Maybe a stretch and a wiggle, whatever you need to be here in the room for the next hour. Hello. Oh, gotta love a bit of Donna Ashworth. I did hear her read it this morning on Instagram, and I was like, that's the poem. That's the one we need. And it just sits so well with the conversations we're going to have today about hyping ourselves and being okay with doing that. And we're joined by Lucy, who's going to talk to us. But just a couple of things and noticing. So it's the 1st of the month, literally the 1st of November. We had Halloween yesterday. Today's the 1st. For those of you who follow the moon and the stars, it's called Scorpio season right now. And Scorpio is all about transformation, which I think is absolutely perfect for this time of year if you think about it. If anyone's got a window nearby and there's a tree in that window, your tree is transforming. It's letting things go, it's dropping the leaves, it's starting to go inwards. And as human beings, in the past versions of ourselves, that's what we would have been doing. But modern society now encourages us to sort of ramp up and get ready for Christmas. And it's a bright lights and it's go, go, go. But there is an invitation of like, well, what do I want to be doing? What do I need to be letting go of? What do I want to be shedding at this point so that I can hunker down into my season of winter and nurture some ideas maybe that you then bring forth when it comes to the lighter days again, when we get to March and April. And it feels quite true for me in that definitely in the last month, I've had to do things differently. So when you lose your voice, that definitely is an invitation. Wow, that was just an invitation, full stop. What was amazing was the community in the SOF Collective WhatsApp group. When I said I can't speak and I've got a load of interviews, a lot of you jumped and waved your hands. And then Olivia's not here, but Olivia stepped in. She's a researcher. She did some research for me last week, telling clients I couldn't speak to them. One client I couldn't get hold of, so I had to turn up into a room like this, and I played Bjork, It's So, So Quiet. And then wrote in the chat box that I couldn't speak to these chief operating officers, and they were cool. And this was a big learning. People are kind inherently and people understand. The other invitation I've had this month of doing things differently is being noticed, I guess, is hyping SoFest. And I was looking, I don't normally look at Active Campaign, which is where all the emails go out of for the festival. And I suddenly realized how many emails have been sent in the last month. And like a past version of me would have been mortified. But I've also realized that the only way people, including myself, hear or learn about events is we just keep sharing gently, but sharing from a place of, this is what's going to happen. This is how great it's going to be. And as of today, we've got 56 people coming, which is just amazing. So we've got 56 early bird tickets, volunteers, speakers, workshop hosts. And I just didn't expect that. So that is super, super exciting. I've still got a financial liability of 32K. So I've still got to sell some more tickets, but I've been honest about that and transparent. So if you're on the SoFest newsletter list, you'll see more about the journey in November and December as we go on. But then that was just an invitation to do things differently versus apologetically. So yeah, all of this is going on, but in a good way. And so today's conversation with Lucy is going to be all about how can we hype ourselves? And Lucy and I talk about the ick, so without the ick. So I'm going to ask Lucy and Arlo, her mad dog, to join us on the screen. Lucy, welcome.
Thank you. I think Arlo anticipated that it was about to be my moment, and that was his moment to kind of try and enter, but he's now retreated. So he
we love that pets know the right time. Lucy, can I ask you to introduce yourself and share with this lovely community what it is who are you, what do you do?
Of course. Thank you for having me. My name is Lucy Werner, which is like Warner, but with an E. And historically, I have always worked in PR. My first ever job in PR was for a work experience placement at 17. But I actually grew up always wanting to be a journalist and a story writer. And it was kind of that typical arc of you weren't academically good enough at something. So I kind of gave up on the writing side. But I found myself really good at PR, this mix of kind of creativity and strategy to like get people out there. I've worked in some of London's big creative agencies, for ad agencies, for big brands. And then 10 years ago, I decided to branch out on my own because I was in this phase of my life where I was meeting loads of cool small business owners or entrepreneurs who were launching businesses, but they didn't have the deep agency pockets to pay for an agency team. And I wanted to find a way to make it affordable. So I operated a very lean kind of PR agency. The co-founder of my children was made redundant in that process, and he was a branding and graphic design expert. So then we amalgamated together and had a PR and branding agency. And then since then, I've relocated to rural France, and I've completely pivoted. As I say, completely pivoted. It was a gradual process going from client work to what I am doing now. But I wrote 2 business books, which started me on the path to teach my own sort of workshops and do my own facilitation. So I teach a lot for universities and accelerators and in spaces like this. But my main work now is a top 50 global newsletter on Substack called Hype Yourself, which is of the same name as my book and the sign behind me. And I essentially spend all my time teaching people how to build their brand and get themselves out there in a way that feels fun and good for them.
Yeah. And Lucy, when you talk about hyping yourself, what does that actually mean? Because I think some of us might be hearing the words PR and going, oh, what, I have to like be in newspapers or like articles.
So I think the biggest myth I like to dispel is that PR is all about getting a press release and sending it out to journalists. Whereas for me, it's actually everything that we do in the relationships with the public. So even for me, you know, doing a brand partnership with Kirsty today by appearing with you guys, I am PRing myself. So any way I show up, whether that's on social media or on a poll, you know, on a stage, and I'm on a, you know, on a panel, on a podcast, my newsletter, it can be traditional newspaper activity, but literally everything we do, every interaction we have is in a way us PRing ourselves. And I feel like today, especially in the digital world, it's never been easier to control that. And one of the exercises I often do when I'm teaching is get people to Google themselves, which the British people are always like, whoa, why would I do that? It feels so ego driven. But it's such a useful exercise because if somebody doesn't know you or they've just met you, that's probably one of the first things they're going to do. And you'll be really surprised what comes up top that's actually within your control. So LinkedIn's always a great one, which a lot of us are like, oh, didn't realize that was actually such a good thing. Twitter, YouTube, anything with video content, anything with imagery. Even if normally I always introduce myself as Lucy Werner PR. That's my handle on all my social media channels. So I'm always encouraging people to search me in that keyword as well. So that helps separate me out from Lucy Werner, the Google executive in America, or Lucy Werner, the stage actress who's also in the US. Unbelievably, there is another Lucy Werner PR.
How rude.
How rude.
I mean, taking your name, I thought it was quite an unusual name. How many of you are now just Googling yourselves? I can just see everyone's faces. It's brilliant.
Yeah.
And
have
what...
you got anything interesting coming up? Because sometimes it can be like a smaller blog or a podcast. And you're like, wow.
Lucy, just want to share, some people have already put in the chat. I Google myself, my cousin, the economics professor, arrives. The problem is my twin is a magician who got sent to prison.
Oh, God.
Rich, that's brilliant. Anyone else found their twin? I have another, Ashley Bivens, a convict. So let's just talk today about hyping and stuff. I've done a poll. How good is that? Like, actually, where is it? I want to ask you all, how do we feel about hyping ourselves? So here we go. On a scale of 1 to 10, how comfortable are you talking your work up? I purposely did not put you personally. So 1, I'd rather put pins in my eyes. 5, I can tolerate it when in the right mood. 10, I absolutely bloody love it. So choose a number, 1 to 10. Where do you sit?
Am I allowed to do it, or does that skew your results?
Of course you can do it. I can't actually, because I wrote it.
Oh, no, I can't either. So
that's because you're a host.
Fine, I won't skew the results.
So then 30 out of 35, 32. One person hasn't done it. Oh, artist of life coach. Okay, we've got it. Let's have a look. Share the results. Okay, what do we see here, team? Actually, 5, 6, 7, 8.
It's a steps track.
Oh yeah. Oh my goodness, don't. Now I'm humming that. For any British, they'll all be humming that. Anyone not British won't be humming it. So in the chat box, it would be really good to hear from you about what's your relationship with hyping yourself? Like, and I know you've given us a number, but what does that number actually mean to you? Is it like, I don't mind doing it, but I don't really know what to do to be more effective, or I just find it so cringy, I won't do it for me, full stop. Or I get the fear, I'm a perfectionist. Let's have a look. Yeah, Rich, I've got a discrepancy about talking about my work and me. The difference between whether it's solicited or unsolicited. Interesting, Matt. So like what's unsolicited hyping?
So if you're in a situation where, you're asking about my work, or, what is it you do, whatever, love that, love talking about it, really passionate about what I do. But I don't want to feel like I'm someone that's coming in just like posing my work all over people. Do you know what I mean?
Okay.
Just leading with that as a conversation starter, talking about how great I am, all those types of things. It doesn't feel authentic or comfortable,
Okay, I love that phrase. I have this visual of someone walking into a room and like verbally hosing people with, "Hey, hi," very old cheesy. What else have we got? Oh, Margaret, it's easier when talking about the good or the difference my work can make. Absolutely. Yeah, I enjoy doing it when I'm feeling confident, Ruth. I hear you. I wonder for us women as well, it's like, are there particular times in the month where we're like, yeah, hell, I can do this. And other times you're like, I'm going under the cover right now. And that's okay, by the way. Nick, I can feel uncomfortable as I feel too self-orientated. Nice, Zoe, is a bit of a reframe. As people don't typically know what I do, I'm sharing information rather than hyping myself. And maybe this is some of the language shifts as well in our heads, like a reframe. So I'm just sharing information about what I do, not I'm out there with the metaphorical pom-poms sort of, which for British people can just feel all manner of cringe. Yeah, how do I describe the value that I bring? Yeah. So, Lucy, how are we going to do this in terms of, should we talk about let's talk about maybe 3 traditional ways we can hype ourselves and 3 not so traditional ways. I've also got Lucy's card deck, so we might play with the card deck. Yeah. And I'm also going to encourage you to write your questions in the chat box.
Yeah, for sure. And actually, I just want to say to your audience as well, I kind of do a similar sort of poll whenever I teach, and like what stops people from hyping themselves. And I've done it now. I think I've had over 1,000 people complete it now. And things like confidence, not knowing what to say, imposter syndrome on a global level comes up. So if you're feeling any of those things, it's very, very normal. And the advice that I always like to start off giving is wherever you've got to today, you have learnt things on the way that to you feel like such bread and butter, but to the outside world, they have no idea about it. So I guess my first tip would always be to think about how you maybe want to send the lift back down to other people. So when you're talking about growing or winning an award or getting on a podcast, the steps you took to get there is a really nice way to share the win, and it feels less excruciating because actually you're showing others how to do it. Because if you've never been on a podcast before and you want to, or you've never entered an award before and you don't know where to start, all that sort of thing, you've never won a 6-figure client, whatever it may be, when someone tells you how long or the steps they've taken to get there, it can be really inspiring. And the other thing I wanted to say was dispelling myths about your industry is also a great way to promote what it is that you do. So rather than saying, I teach PR, I will say, I hate press releases, and then explain why. And so then I can go into a little narrative about why it is I feel that way about a press release and introduce what I'm doing. Whereas most people who don't know much about PR think it's all about just writing a press release. So I'm trying to dispel that myth. And last but not least, this is a really quick one that I wanted to just give you as an intro takeaway. When you say your name out loud, it's the thing that you know so well about yourself and other people don't. So when you say it quickly, people can't take it down. So that's why you'll notice when I said my name today, I try and take a breath and maybe even give you a bit of a correction on the spelling, because Werner is not a very typical name, for example. So there's just a few quick things up top for you to take away, and then go
and I
to
do the same,
Kirsty.
Lucy. Yeah, I do. I guess on the name thing, I hadn't ever thought about that. I'm really clear. School of Facilitation. I'm all about the acronyms. I'm an ex-branding Diageo, right? So I would call it SOF, but a lot of people want to call it SOF, and I'm the first to go, no. So I say Kirsty Lewis from SOF. So as you say, it just helps reinforce name and also name of company.
It's just a great way to start your, whether you're on a panel, you're on a, you know, a group online Zoom like this, you're on a podcast, it's such a grounding way just to start the conversation, to think, okay, I'm going to say my name and I'm going to say it slowly. So when somebody asks you to introduce yourself, really take that time. And it also helps if you do have any of those nerves about public speaking as well, just to slow it down.
How many of you, like, I can see you're all on gallery with me. There's a lot of sage nodding going on around the room.
Because when we're nervous at the beginning as well, typically we speak faster. And so our name is the first thing to get lost when we're promoting ourselves. But it's the most important part.
Kate, Lucy, Katie's just shared in the chat. Katie's all right to read it. I found myself saying chalcraft, like witchcraft, as people write chalcroft. But then I realized that wasn't exactly how I wanted to brand myself when working in South Africa. Maybe I need a rethink on this. Katie, thank you. That's yeah. So it's interesting as well. We often say things and then we'll be like, oh, did I actually mean that? But that's okay. It's an experiment. You can adjust and every time you speak, can't you? So, or introduce yourself. So what are some of so these are like three things to start off with. Like, what are some of the other ways that that you notice people hyping themselves?
I think one of my favorite activities to set people to do, I'm all about the homework, sorry, but it's an exercise called Ways to Work with Me. And just go and look at all your social media pages. And when you first look at your Instagram or your LinkedIn or your TikTok or whatever you're using, is there an obvious way that people can work with you up top? And if there isn't, go immediately and create a graphic and pin it on your Instagram, on your LinkedIn. It's not for engagement. It's not for likes. It's not for anybody to like it. If it's only your mum, your dog, your boyfriend, your cat or whatever who likes it and comments on it, that's fine. That's not what it's for. It's your shop window. And when people walk past and you're not there, we need a big sign in the window to say what it is that we can buy. And it's the most simple exercise that so many people have told me from doing it, they've had new business come in the door because people who've been following them for a long time were suddenly like, oh, I didn't realize you did that. And then if you want bonus points, you make sure you refresh it once a quarter as an exercise to remind people this is what I sell, because also you might have a few tweaks in your language or pricing. If you sell multiple things, I try not to say like more than 3 things because it can get a bit overwhelming. If you're a multi-hyphenate portfolio careerist, it's totally fine to mention, you know, on the artist side, you can hire me for a commission. On the consultancy side, you can book me for a one-to-one. Obviously, there might be more strands to it than that, but just to promote your hero products. But you'll see I actually do need to do it on my Instagram, so don't troll me that I'm not up to date on this, but I do encourage people to do it as a task. And for them, it doesn't feel like PR, but I'm like, it's the first thing that people see when they're going to look at you. I'm
just trying to write, how do I spell carousel?
Carousel. Do I have an example? Yes, I do.
Yeah, and you can share your screen. So I'm just writing in the notes. So firstly, on Instagram, if you use Instagram, you create it as a carousel. People like Alice will know this because she does amazing stuff. Alice, you do this well, I think. So create the carousel and you can then pin it at the top of your profile. And then in LinkedIn is same. You make the LinkedIn version of a carousel. And then you have to, I think you don't have the pin function. It's something like you can
it's
favorite.
It's featured on
features.
Yeah, on LinkedIn, it's features.
Yeah, I can see Alice Havill nodding at me through the screen. Go, yes, yes, features, Kirsty, features. By the way, for those of you who are new to this world, you are always welcome to come off mute. It's not just the Kirsty and Lucy show here. So if ever we're not saying something that's right, feel free to pop in. Our quick show of hands around the room. Bit of truth moment. How many of us have actually got something like that on our socials? Lisa's hands waving. I think you're one of only 5, Lisa, at that point. And Ruth is a bit of a even I'm a bit of a So and I've seen suddenly people like rushing off to different parts of their screens to check. Rhiannon, I can see you looking. But it's a really simple thing to do.
I'm going to share.
Did you want to
one.
share, Lucy?
Yeah, I do, because I haven't got an up-to-date one, but this is a really nice one that somebody in my audience did, and she's just it's an Instagram post, but she said, you know,
Can
this
you
is
share
how.
it?
Yeah, I've just put it in the chat.
Oh, okay.
And her front page is how to work with me, and it's such a basic. This is how you can work with me, but it feels like, you know, too mundane even as being something like to promote yourselves with, but it's such, I cannot tell you the amount of times people have done it, specifically on LinkedIn as well, where they said, I've just had DMs from people coming to work with me because I've posted this.
Let me just share my screen for those who don't have Instagram necessarily. Can you see that?
Yes.
So how to work with me, whatever your branding is. And then she's got all the different information.
Can I just jump in and say, does everyone know how to create a LinkedIn carousel? Because it took me a while. If you use Canva, you export it as a PDF.
Yeah.
So you create your images, same as you would like any posts, but you export as a PDF. And then when you upload in Instagram, you upload it as a PDF document, and then it shows like as like 5 different images. If that's
in LinkedIn, Lisa.
In LinkedIn, yeah.
Brilliant.
In Instagram and Facebook and everything, you just export it as a JPEG, yeah, typical. Yeah.
I'm just pulling out a LinkedIn one quickly now. Hold on. I've got one.
Do you know, it's really funny is when you go into LinkedIn and you want to find something super fast, can you? Absolutely not.
No, I have a spreadsheet of my newsletter people, and I keep, when they do their tasks, I collect them. This is a nice one from LinkedIn that you could share, Kirsty.
Okay. Jules has just asked, is a carousel the same as the top banner? No,
but the top banner is primetime PR real estate. For the multi-hyphenates, it's perfect to showcase the 2 things you're doing, unless you're obviously hiding your job from your employee, but that's a whole other thing that I'm not here to talk about. But for example, I really like, maybe we can move on to her next. There's a lady I know called Vanessa Ballot, who is a D&I consultant, but also an artist.
Yeah.
And so she has on her banner, like on a microphone, so you know she's a speaker. She has her artwork up there. So she sort of shows that she's a multi-hyphenate in her LinkedIn banner. At the moment, the only thing I'm selling is my newsletter. So on my LinkedIn banner, it's literally an arrow to like join my newsletter, and that's it. It's such a, for me, it's like free advertising space. Get a nice graphic up there. Yes, I love how she does hers.
So again, that can be created in Canva.
Adobe Express, whatever your.
Of course, sorry. Adobe Express ambassador.
You know, I feel like she really shows everything that she does here, now how multifaceted her career is, just from that background. You really get a sense of her personality and the different parts of her job.
Mine's okay. Mine's a bit staid.
I want to link. I want a call to action on yours. Where do I go? Where's your website? What am I booking?
Oh, all right. Well, you can rewrite it for me then.
No, I don't want to do.
Okay, so that's another thing we could all do is look at our LinkedIn.
You get points. You're on brand. You've got everything you've got on there. So you're 95% there. I just want a call to action. Where do we go? Like for the moment, your main thing you're selling is tickets to your festival. So I would be having a festival banner up there.
Ooh, yeah. Oh my God, effort.
Prime time. And then you can change it each time you're doing a campaign. So right now you're campaigning on the festival. So
Yeah.
maybe for the next 3 to 6 months, your banner is all about the festival. And then after that, it could be something else.
Yeah. Aha. Oh, can you just describe what you mean by multi-hyphenate, please?
So Matt, I see that Matt's written underneath, basically a portfolio career. So when you do multiple things, so it might be you're a painter and an author and a writer on the kind of creative side, but on the separate side, you're also a facilitator and a coach and a workshop in leadership, and it's completely separate to the creative work that you do.
Yeah.
Maybe you're a photographer who also is an executive chef. You know, that sort of thing. When we're doing multiple things.
Okay. Well, I just guess I'm curious to the group, like just on those very simple suggestions that Lucy's already shared, what questions are coming up for you that you haven't maybe already written into the chat? Please put your voice in the room. Interesting. So my next question then is,
I can ask a question.
Yeah, go for it, Rich.
I'm trying to find what my question is though. It's that I don't know if this is my character or my work, right? So maybe you can help me, but it's my work tends to be quite discreet. So it sort of sounds completely counterintuitive for me to go, hey everyone, I do discreet work.
Yeah, sure. As in the clients you're working with are confidential, or the subject area is a bit discreet, or
it's a mix.
can you without being undiscreet?
Maybe it's just this is just not a way to do it. Maybe it just I trust the way I get introduced already and stick with that.
Perhaps there is a discreet way that you hype yourself. So perhaps it's going back to historical clients, and it's maybe more on a kind of on a newsletter, or you're contacting the previous people that you've worked with to let them know that, you know, whatever it is that you're, it's hard to know without necessarily knowing exactly what it is that you do for work.
But that's helpful. In other words, it's less public and more private.
Yeah. That's what yes. So you can, it's always in your own way. So if the work that you're doing is discreet, and that's the way you're feeling comfortable talking about it, then the way you promote yourself can be discreet too.
Yeah,
that's helpful. Thank you.
And it doesn't necessarily, Rich, it doesn't necessarily have to be the work that you promote, it's you.
Yes. So I know somebody that I mean, I don't know how sensitive the work is that you're doing. I know somebody who is an executive coach in high level boardrooms. You can't talk about the companies that she's working with, but she will talk about things she's seen in the media that are maybe related to what she does, or she'll talk about how she manages the work she does whilst also being a mother to 10 children, and that juxtaposition of how she's perceived versus what it is that she's doing in her job.
10 kids.
I know. I mean, don't get me started.
It's also classic sort of Chatham House. It's talking about the principles and the learnings rather than the people and the content.
Exactly. And also I think it's the challenges that you're presented with, the language that your audience use might be really surprising to other people. So I think it's sometimes kind of playing off the language that you know. So my audience will never say I have a problem with hyping myself. That's how I talk. But I will talk to my audience, say, like, are you struggling with knowing what to say? Do you struggle with having confidence in your expertise? And I will kind of serve that language back to them. But for me, a nice way to get around it as well, if I couldn't, because I went through a period of my life where I was white labeling and I couldn't talk about the client work I was doing. I would just comment on stuff happening in the media, like Netflix shows. Like there was a time, I don't know if you remember, a Netflix show called Fire Festival, which was a bit of a PR disaster. So I had a wild ride just commenting on that, because it's a safe place for me to criticize, because I don't play in that world, but as an experienced like PR person, I can comment on that. Nice. So when you're seeing things that are you've maybe got a controversial opinion, but you're safe behind it, it's quite nice to be a bit outspoken, if you can be, but obviously in a way that like protects yourself. But I think it's dispelling myths is a way you can do that without being too combative.
Rich, okay. Elsie, do you want to ask your question? Because I think that's equally valuable.
Hello, hiya.
Hey.
So talking about portfolio, i.e. the multiple skills or services that I offer my clients. My question is, what's the pros and cons of doing that versus just niching into and focusing on the one thing that you offer? So for me, it's all around luxury customer service training to the hospitality industry primarily, but I do coaching, I facilitate sales learning programs, I do leadership stuff, but I predominantly go out to the market as a luxury customer service trainer.
From my standpoint, the way that I do it is I tend to kind of ratio my time against revenue. So if we're just playing with the number 100, because that's the easiest way for me to do maths, if 50% of your work, or if you want 50% of your work to be on that luxury side, then I would spend at least 50% of my time PRing that side of it. But if it's, say, at the moment that's only 10% and you want to grow it, then I would spend more time doing that. I do think it's quite hard to promote multiple things. It's not beyond the realms of possibility, but even like me as like a seasoned PR pro now working for myself, if I've got more than 2 or 3 things happening at the same time, it can be difficult to keep the messaging going. So the other way I might do it is campaign on something for 3 to 6 months and be like, I'm just going to really push this side of the business for 3 to 6 months and see if I can get this bit building and going higher. Sometimes I'm not qualified as a business coach, so I can't tell you to like drop one element of the business, but it can sometimes be more beneficial to drop if you've got loads of revenue streams, to think about cutting a few out on your promotion schedule just to focus on one. Because I've certainly noticed with myself and my clients that when all the attention's on promoting one thing, obviously it becomes easier to sell. But that doesn't mean that we can't still offer those other products and services. Kirsty, I don't know if you want to add to that.
Yeah, I am.
Because you have got multiple things as well.
My God, I got way too many things, and I've got like a corporate side of the business, and I've also got the collective, which I sort of put us into. So even there, I well, do I talk about the corporate or the collective work? And then in the collective, there's always multiple events that we've got happening. So where do I put my focus? And I'm a bit of a Labrador puppy, so I want to do everything, but I also know it doesn't work. So being really focused, like I have been for the last month on SoFest, in some ways has been painful for me because it's not how I want to do it. That's not my natural style. So I've got loads of other things I would love to talk about, and yet it's probably been super beneficial. So it's all a bit, I just see it all as a bit of an experiment, Rich. And I think just have a test and a play. Now, a good few years ago, Lucy brought out some cards called the PR tips, and I've just pulled 3 cards because in these cards there is absolutely loads of different ideas of what we could be doing to keep hyping ourselves. So in no particular order.
On the spot,
Card 21, share the lows. People can relate to the lessons you've learned. The most engaging social posts are the ones where business owners open up about the difficult times.
I would say this is an advanced level activity.
Oh, is that an advanced level? Okay.
I think if you're starting out,
oh yeah, okay.
It could be a bit scary. But I very aggressively on my second book was trying to be a Sunday Times bestseller, swung massive, talked about it everywhere, completely missed. And then got invited on loads of podcasts to talk about how I didn't become a Sunday Times bestseller. And then through that, somebody booked me for a one-to-one mentoring session and then talked about how great it was. And then I sold out of all of my one-to-one coaching before I went on mat leave. And then somebody else was from a speaker bureau, was listening to that podcast and booked me for probably my highest paid speaking gig. So I was like, oh, wow, actually that fail and talking about it on one LinkedIn post actually then sort of generated 20, 30K's worth of revenue as a spiral effect from it. So it doesn't have to be this deeply personal thing. It can just be like if you're setting yourself a goal and then you don't make it. I love setting audacious goals for myself. My next thing now is I want to move up to be a top 10 Substack global business newsletter, because I was trying to be top 50 and I've done that. So now I want to be a top 10. So I talk about wanting to be a Substack global top 10 and how I'm giving myself 2 years to do it. And it just gives me a story and a narrative to bring with my audience on the way as well. So it doesn't have to be huge, but even things like someone copies your product or your branding, or, you know, something's happened and it makes you, I tend to not write in the emotional of it if you're stressed, because we all have those moments where you're like, ooh, what's happened? Go on.
Couple of things. So lot of love for the failure, and some of us going, I won't even try something that I know I'm going to fail at. Please have a go, but start small. I mean, Lucy's going all out here. She's written books, so her space to fail, she's gone large. But for any of us mere mortals, it could be something as simple as like even talking to a stranger, and then just saying, I don't want to talk to you, or approaching someone. So at the moment, my biggest fear of failure, to make So First work, we need some sponsorship. So I'm approaching different companies, and that's just going to cause rejection after rejection. And I'm living fear every time I write an email, because it's a horrible feeling. But that's just a thing in our brain, being receiving rejection. There's also been a question of what is Substack? Now, you and I think, just play in Substack, so we're quite comfortable, but I forget it's still a very new platform. Can you just give everyone a headline what Substack is?
Yes, so it's essentially like a media platform. You can have your own website there. You can post video, audio, host your podcast, or predominantly most people use it as a newsletter platform. And I don't know if you've heard of Patreon. It's a little bit like that, in that you can charge people for your content. So I have some content that I do monthly or occasionally that's free for all of my subscribers. And then I have a weekly PR recipe that I send out, where I give you a prompt for the week, which is paid for. So I have 440 paid and 10,000 free. Some people on there make millions doing this. Some people just have it as a side hustle. But what's nice about it as a platform is it's still in its infancy stage. So it's very algorithm friendly. So if you've got less than 100 followers, you can grow by having other people recommend you. You can cross write for other people's newsletters. And for me, it's actually just a really nice corner of the internet where there's not really kind of that troll and angry, I don't agree with you space. People just tend to find each other and champion each other's writing and support each other's work.
Yeah.
So I find it quite cozy, if you will.
Cozy. At the end of this, Lucy will share her Substack link, so you can go and have a read and a notice of what it's like. Right, 2 more cards. Number 49, maintain momentum. You call it PR, I just call it showing up, but show up is a daily job. What can you get into a habit of doing for 10 minutes each day to help your communications strategy? So, yeah, and again, one thing I've definitely learned, consistency is super helpful. Consistency. And for me, consistency has been, for the last 5 years, even longer actually, writing a monthly email newsletter to the SOF community, even when I only had 10 people on the list. Consistency has been hosting quarterly gatherings in London, even when only 2 people would come. But that was in the early years. It was all about me practicing and finding my rhythm and how I wanted to do it. Like when we used to have these sessions used to be on a Monday at 11 o'clock, and there'd be 5 or 6 people in the room. And now look where we've got to. But consistency is definitely a word. So I think this card here about maintaining momentum is very true.
I liken it to like I try and do it every day. Like I'll be like, have I had my 10 glasses of water? Have I walked the dog? Have I done something to hype myself? And it could just be an Instagram story. It could be resharing some of my newsletter readers' work because I'm sharing my community. So it's not even about myself. It could just be commenting on some people who I think are influential that I want to be seen alongside on their LinkedIn posts. So it's not always about yourself. It's just flexing the muscle a little bit. So it becomes like part of your daily exercise. That's how I think of it. But it's got to be fun. You've got to do it in a way that you like it. Otherwise it's horrible, right? Somebody said to me, totally. It's like flossing. And I was like, no, if it's like flossing, stop right now. Nobody enjoys flossing, surely. Like that cannot be the way that you think about your PR.
Oh, Matt's saying he likes flossing.
Amazing. Well, there's always one.
Okay, here's a bit of a left field one, which some of you might go, what? It's called Top of the Journo Pops. Who are the top 5 journalists, the ones that always write about your line of work? Engage with their writing and become an active reader. My brain immediately goes to who writes in our world about learning, development, leadership, coaching.
You know what, for you, Kirsty, as well, it might not necessarily be, that's a very like traditional PR approach.
Yeah.
For you, it could be 5 other podcast hosts or 5 other festival producers or 5 other brands. Like right now you're looking for sponsorship. So for now, forget about the journalists. Who are 5 brands that sponsor people like your work that you want to get in front of, whose work you want to support and be engaging with? So it doesn't just have to be journalists. It's kind of like whatever your media outlet is that you need to be focusing on. So for me, you're underpinning any PR, underpinning any hype of what are your business goals. Your business goals right now is getting money through the door for the festival. So getting into 5 newspapers, it will be great for kudos, but not for money. So the easiest way for you to get money is the brands. So what are the 5 brands or 5 podcasts where you could be reaching your target audience to hit sales?
And I think that applies to many people sitting in this room, by the way, as well, in terms of, so it's not necessarily the journalists, like all of you. And I know many
speaking, if you're great at speaking, if you're confident at speaking or hosting, radio and podcasts are brilliant because people hear your voice and they connect with you so much more than just a byline in the newspaper.
Yeah. And I think it's a really, for all of us just listening to Lucy speak right now, so it doesn't have to be journalism, but are there podcasts you'd like to appear on? Or are there, I know, for example, the Training Journal, TJ, in the UK, Joe Cook is always looking for people to write articles. And if you are in the SOF WhatsApp group, Joe is in there and she'll put shouts out. So you can talk to her directly, but also if you go to the Training Journal website, there's a link in there about writing articles. She's always looking for people to write articles. So if that's your gig that you like writing, or if you like to speak, as Lucy said, finding those podcasts where you want to just talk about what you're passionate about, I think that's super, super helpful. So Lucy shared lots and lots of things.
Firstly, I was going to suggest there's lots of LinkedIn lives that you can go on to if you can find them on LinkedIn. And like the old days of Clubhouse, you can put your hand up and share your ideas and views about the topic. I do this every 2 weeks with a co-host, and we come up with your purpose and your why. Then we have people in the audience to share, either ask a question or share their experiences. And that's a really good way to people to hear you.
Nice. So, who actually, out of curiosity, who else has done a LinkedIn Live or been a guest? Anyone? I mean, I haven't. Rich, Ruth, Marjorie. And how easy is it to do it?
Very easy. Very, very easy. You go into LinkedIn and it's you can set this up. Let me just have a look at it while I'm speaking.
That's okay, but if it's easy to do, and because for a while they didn't have it available to everybody.
It's very, very easy to do. Naturally assuming you just have to go into Canva and create an image and then write a bit of blurb about the subject that you're speaking about, whether you're hosting with someone to have a co-host, and then you spread it in LinkedIn and reshare it.
Jason, I'm going to pause you. There's a couple of questions coming up in the chat box. Lucy, are you reprinting your cards in any near future?
I've just replied. So it's a bit of a Brexit issue at the moment to post from France to the UK. But when I know I have UK trips coming up.
I've got another solution for you. I'll talk to you offline. If anyone has come across Kat in our community, Kat is all about creating card decks, and she has a solution for that you don't have to print them yourself.
Well, I have them. I have the stock.
Are you coming into Hampshire in the near future? I'll take some off you.
My next time is end of January. I'm in the UK.
Maybe I'll pick some up off you if I'll do a collective order. If I know.
Yeah, do it.
Why not? I'll become the postwoman.
She can be my
help. I'll be in Quiberon for Christmas, so if you want any help getting stuff delivered to England, reach out.
You.
We'll make it happen. Look at that. Love it. The chat, the WhatsApp group chat is Nick, thank you. You got to me quicker. That's just gone into the chat of this conversation. I think I want to just invite everyone just to take a pause for a moment and reflect on everything that we have discussed this morning as a group. And I'm just curious, what is one thing you're either going to amplify more of that you're already doing? So what are you going to amplify? Or is there something that you've heard today that you're like, ooh, I haven't thought to do that. I'm going to go and give it a go. So just take a moment to write that down for yourself. And then if you want to share in the chat what it is you're going to do, that would be amazing. Gail, thank you. Lovely to meet you. We meet on the first Friday of every month. Same link as well, by the way. Same Zoom link. So all you've got to do is set yourself a reoccurring invite for 9 o'clock with the same Zoom link. We're always here. Oh my goodness, here we go already. Check out Substack, carousels, simplify the work, says Lisa. LinkedIn headers, I think this is a big one. Claire's already changed her LinkedIn header. Add the how to work with me, how to work with me, how to work with me, how to work with me. Can I just say, when you do the how to work with me, please tag Lucy and myself, whether that's Instagram.
I reshare everyone, so you
It's
don't
brilliant.
look like the tumbleweed.
So tag us on LinkedIn and Instagram. On Instagram, I'm School of Facilitation. Lucy.
I'm Lucy Werner PR on everything. Yes. I'll pop it in now. Lucy Werner PR. Look how I rushed through that. She's excited.
Jill, you want to get on a podcast? Awesome. Right, we work out how to do that. Definitely some work with me. Yes, Ruth. You've got loads of cool stuff, Ruth. You've even got a book. And then I'm totally encourage you guys to go and find Lucy on Substack. It's really worth it. I'm one of her paid members for sure, because it's really cool. So anyone want to put their voice in the room? Some of the ladies, lots of boys. How about some of the ladies? What are you going to do between now and Christmas to hype yourself? Ruth.
One topic I was going to raise, I mentioned it in the chat, was a lot of the challenge for us facilitators and coaches is that a lot of the magic you don't know until you've experienced it. So people, they come into something not knowing what if they knew at the beginning, they'd be like, they would have gone in way faster. So I don't know if there's any thoughts that you and Lucy have about really giving people an insight into the experience that they will have. There's clearly things like testimonials but I guess I'm always interested in how we really prime them on the magic that is going to happen, because it inevitably does.
So some things that just went straight through my head, Ruth, is if you've got a lovely willing client, do like a video conversation with them and then talking to what has just happened, the magic, what they thought coming into it and what's happened since, so that there's something then that could be shared through LinkedIn and Instagram very easily and can go on your website.
Yeah, really nice. There's nothing stronger than someone else speaking about your brand, really, isn't it?
Exactly. What else are people going to do?
I've just seen one question where somebody was like, how can we sell something to people when they don't understand the product? And I said, could you offer a taster session to your key people? I guess what I mean by that is, I worked on a program called The Uncertainty Experts with Sam Conniff, which runs like 3 times a year online. And so we basically held like a VIP evening with other podcast hosts, key people in brands that he might wanted to work with, people that he's maybe done public speaking for, but when he had written his book, Be More Pirate. So we just kind of scraped all the people he's ever worked with and we invited them to come to taster session of it, because like Kirsty, some of his work's corporate and some of it's B2C, but we just invited all of those people together for an hour online just to sample it. And I think traditionally, if you were opening a theme park, you would have a press day, right? And it can be the same thing for you with your service, but rather than you're inviting journalists, your key people for your business might be a program director or an events booker. So maybe there's a way you can do a kind of taster or a trial for them. And if nothing else, it's a way to introduce yourself and get that first connection rather than just being like, do you want to hire me? You know, you're starting a conversation. And it's the same whether whatever it is that you're doing, find a way to start building those connections with people. So inviting them to things, even if they can't come, it's not a waste.
Yeah. I'm always honouring of the time that we're coming up to 10 o'clock. So we're going to have an after party. So we always have an after party if this is new to you, because the most interesting conversations happen, don't they? At the kitchen sink at a party. So can we just show our appreciation for Lucy and give her a round of applause? Lucy, thank you so much. Team, we are here again on the something of December 3rd. Someone will know the date. And we've also got the Christmas gathering happening on Friday the 13th of December. Currently, there are about 4 tickets left, and then we'll be up to 30 of us to have a big celebration in London town. And SoFest early bird tickets are still available until 8 a.m. Monday morning. And the reason the date has been pushed back is very simply, my team then went, oh, we're all on holiday, and they are the people who do all the technical stuff and know how to press the right buttons and change the website or change Stripe. I have no clue, and they're not going to let me go anywhere near it. So if you're still thinking about coming and you want to get an early bird ticket, you can, which is awesome. I'm determined that we're going to hit 30 tickets today sold. But thank you, everybody. It's been absolutely wonderful to see you all, and see you again in December.